Let's begin. So, first of all, thank you so much for accepting my request for this interview. This is a personal initiative that I have started a few months ago. Before that, I've been writing on medium.com for about 3 years. I saw you very active in LinkedIn almost every day, right?
I try to be every day. Yeah.
And you get engagement, a lot of engagement. I read your post about 2020 review. It was an amazing post. I didn't. I'm expecting similar one for 2021.
Thank you. I have to get on writing it because it it takes more time to compile all that stuff than it does to actually write it, format it. So
Adam, what I try to do in these interviews is to ask very simple and basic questions. What you wanted to become in high school, then your career journey, and then your goal setting and time management and things like that. So the structure is very simple, but every time whenever I go through these interviews, either a person or a situation or a thing that come up that shaped that person life and career, right? So with simple question, we uncover some of the things that other people can use or get inspired by. I wanted to start this interview by giving you an opportunity to share with the audience what you do.
So I'm very happy and humbled to be here for people who are in your audience who are not familiar with my content or my orange sunglasses. My name is Adam Marx. I'm based here in Atlanta. And yeah, what I do now is people know me as the guy with the orange sunglasses or the 0 to 1 networker. I mean, really what I do is I go out and I help people, either individuals or corporate teams, learn how to become powerhouse networkers, learn how to build relationships that are long-term, magnetic, mutually beneficial, based around tactics like empathy, value creation, patience, and things that go into that are skills around communication, skills around writing, skills around leveling up those characteristics and qualifications so that when you go out there, you are building relationships that could last years and years, right? And could be beneficial for everybody involved. Because I want people to understand that they can build an amazing community and network off of personal traits. So humor, humility, things like that, which people don't often associate with business. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I do coaching, I do speaking. I teach people how to level up their writing. I basically joke that I sit somewhere in between a therapist and a personal trainer, right?
Oh, this is awesome. Yes.
My job isn't to sell you my black book of contacts, right, because they may not even be valuable for you. I mean, I don't know anybody in sports management or stuff like that,
Yeah.
My job is to help you retrain your mindset so that you wake up and go, I can network with just about anybody. And I can get in front of somebody and build a relationship and something good will come from it. Don't know what yet. Don't have a crystal ball, but 10 months down the road, people will pick up your phone call and answer your email. That's what I teach people how to do.
Thank you for sharing that. When you was in high school and your early college, what you wanted to become at that point?
I've always enjoyed learning. I enjoy history class. I ended up doing I have a degree in history. I have a minor degree in art history. Maybe I would be an academic, follow an academic track and be a professor. I was raised by attorneys, so law and politics have always been of interest to me. Mm-hmm. The kind of law that my parents do is civil rights law. So diversity, discrimination law, that kind of stuff is very motivating to me. But ultimately, I think that I was bit by the music bug. I really am a creative person. And there was a point at which I was going to be a rock star, right? And then there was a point at which I wanted to be a journalist, a music journalist, and develop relationships with people, and then just enjoy writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what has always been underlying all those things is a desire to create and be entrepreneurial. So whether it was going into law and starting my own small firm, or being entrepreneurial as a musician, or entrepreneurial as a journalist, that's a bug that I've always had. So getting into tech and startups and now doing consulting seems to fit really well with that that part of my personality.
My suggestion always is to just keep going, at least finish bachelor, and then you may go through many career changes before you probably gonna find what you want to do.
Yeah, and I mean that's very true, and we can kind of break that down. But I think in addition to that, it's okay to change what you want to do. It's okay to be on a track for something
Mm-hmm.
and decide you want to do something else, or decide after having done it for a while. Maybe I was a doctor for a few years and I did all the schooling and all this kind of stuff, and maybe it's time to try something new. Maybe I want to open a business. Maybe I want to do something else. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that we're more and more in a social paradigm where people don't have to make one choice, right? I mean, think about it. Even if you decide to go into a very structured path like medicine, or you're going to join the armed services and become a professional soldier. Some people decide that's the decision they want to make. Those people can still have a desire to have a side business or hobby that maybe turns into a side business. I mean, it may have absolutely nothing to do with your job.
Right.
You could be a soldier, that's your job, or a doctor, but decide that you love food, right? And you're invested in the small food truck business, or you do food writing when you're not performing your job. And I think that for people in our age group, in the high school, university age group, it's okay to try different things. Right. It's okay. I mean, that's how I got to where I am. It was just talking to a lot of people. I didn't wake up one day and say, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. Like, I always loved writing, but I never thought I'd be a professional journalist. It was more just like, I enjoy writing music reviews. I know I'm probably never going to write for Rolling Stone. It was just something for me to do. The fact that I'm a published tech journalist is like mind-blowing, because I didn't go to school for that. I just enjoy doing it. And one day somebody reached out, who's now a good friend of mine, and he was like, hey, you are very curmudgeonly and you have a lot of opinions. And I was like, you're correct. What can we do? And it just started as a single one-off piece. It wasn't like, here's a job, here's a salary. It was a single one-off piece. It was a good experience. They were nice enough to pay me for my time and my expertise. And it just turned into more. When people open themselves up to opportunities, you don't know what's going to come through the door.
Whole concept of passion and purpose. And there are times when people, I guess everybody's life, that when they start thinking, if I have purpose and if I have passion, everything else will align. And it's true to an extent, but at the same time, if you just wait and kind of try to find your purpose and passion, it's not going to come to you. You have to try several things. It's something that can hold people for a long time and not let them move forward because they don't know where they're going, what's their purpose, what their passion is.
Well, I mean, and I think it's something else too, which is when I closed my first startup, which was a music tech company, I felt that I didn't know what my identity was anymore, because I had been like the music guy, the music tech person. That was how I identified. It's how I crafted my persona for others and for myself. And so when I went through this tough time of closing it and saying it's time to move on to something new, I didn't know what that something new was. And that was very scary. It was scary because I didn't know, but it was also scary because I didn't know who I was, how to present myself. I felt like I couldn't be that person anymore. I felt like I didn't know what kind of person I wanted to be. And it took a lot of soul searching to realize that music and tech was what I did at that time, and a big part of who I was, but not all of who I was. And through a lot of conversations with close friends and core support network, I realized like what I brought to the music tech intersection, to that community and those dialogues, was a lot of content around building relationships and how to facilitate conversations between people and how to bring people together, what I guess we call community building. We use all these really nice buzzwords, but I just considered it to be what I enjoyed doing. And in fact, I didn't understand that it was even something that other people struggled with. I was like, oh yeah, go out and talk to people.
Yeah.
And it's always that way. People who are good at things, you don't realize other people need help with it. Certainly I'm not the best computer programmer. I mean, that's for sure. And so once I realized that other people were struggling in this area and really wanted to learn how to get better, that started to give me new purpose. And maybe I can write about this. And I don't know if, there's no magic bullet, but these are the experiences that I've had. These are the strategies that I've used to improve. Maybe they'll help other people. If those people want to try them out, maybe they will see improvement. So that's kind of how I started moving in the direction that I'm moving in now.
After closing the music company, you did a lot of soul searching. If you can highlight some of the steps or process of what you did during that time.
Wow. Okay. I tried a whole bunch of different things, and each one I thought was going to be like the next thing, right? So like in 2017 alone, I had like 3 or 4 major flameouts because, I closed my company. And then I got involved in it was a crypto thing. That makes it sound very sketchy. It's certainly not sketchy. It just was a company that just didn't go anywhere. And all right. But that was one. I spent part of 2017 into 2018 editing a book for a client.
For someone else or you? Oh, client.
No, for somebody else. So I'm actually a published editor as well. But it's we decided to so we finished the project and then we moved on, right? It wasn't like, terminating the project. It was finished. And so I tried a number of things and I wasn't sure where I would go. I mean, I knew I needed a break from tech Twitter for like 2 months or so. I just needed to take a step back and assess how I was seeing myself and how I was seeing my new trajectory. And it was actually during that period of time that a good friend of mine, who's a big LinkedIn person, said, you should get on LinkedIn. There's some interesting stuff going on, some really interesting people who you may not have run across. And so I started getting very active on LinkedIn. And then one day somebody turned around to me and said, oh, you're great at the personal branding thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? The orange sunglasses and this and this. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing personal branding now. Like, I never really set out to do it. It just was something that came across my virtual desk. And then, like I said, when the pandemic hit, what I really wanted to do was start specializing and move away from the personal branding thing because, I don't do logo design, website design. I leave that to other very talented people. I really am motivated and love to work with people on how do I get you to the point where you as an individual or you as a corporate team, you feel that you can build relationships with anybody in a good, positive way. That's what really motivates me. And so once I had that aha moment, it was, okay, I'm going to start shifting my content, but it's like turning a ship. It doesn't happen like, bam, overnight. You got to start to, change course a little bit at a time.
How did you find that aha moment?
I have no idea, actually. I honestly, I think what it was is there are a lot of really talented, really successful personal branding experts on LinkedIn, many of whom are my friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think really what it was I recognized that there were parts of personal branding where I didn't fit the expectation, and it's okay. Like I just don't do logo design. I know lots of amazing people who do. I could recommend people until the sun goes out. It's just not what I do. I don't do website design. Lots of talented people I know
Right.
do website design. But I realize when people heard the words personal branding, they tend to think of like a media
All
package.
that. Yeah.
And that's fair. That's kind of what I think about too. I was searching for a way to express and explain to people what I specialize in. Because I'm not the person who's going to say, okay, I'll 40x your follower count. That's not what I'm concerned with. There are lots of people who are very good at that, very talented, and I'm happy to let them, focus on that. What I focus on is teaching people and corporate teams how to develop the strategy and the mindset to get in front of just about anybody you want to get in front of. It's the same tactics I used to get in front of venture capitalists in tech. It's the same tactics I
Mm-hmm.
used to get in front of press and media, journalists. A lot of these people are my friends, founders, potential customer demographics, potential partnership opportunities. These are the same tactics that have led me to build relationships, networks, communities in the music world, the tech world, in the LinkedIn world, and the politics world,
Okay.
just things that I enjoy. And so I wanted to teach other people how to do that so that they could be more successful.
Have you ever done that dot picture? So sometime you work on the left side, sometime you work on the right side, sometime in the middle side, and at some point you see the picture kind of coming together, and that's when you realize that you actually not kind of leaving these things. You was working on different areas, you was building your skills overall. Now you have a big picture that you can go after.
Well, and that is the mindset that I like to teach people to utilize, because that's how I see networks. I have had experiences where I've had people from my music network,
Mm-hmm.
and I see that they're connected with people in my tech network, or people in my
Right.
tech network are connected with people in my, film network. Still trying to build that one up, but I know a couple of people. And when you start to, it's like you get the feeling of everybody knows everybody. And
Mm-hmm.
of course that's a hyperbole, but it feels that way. And once you can be in the middle of all these things, I think the very most powerful thing that I try to teach people is it's good to sit in the middle of lots of different communities. It doesn't mean that you can't commit. It doesn't mean that you're unable to focus on one more than the other at certain times, but it also means that you're able to create a unique value proposition for those communities, because
Mm-hmm.
people in community one, they don't necessarily know about people in community two. It's not that they're objectively avoiding those people or vice versa. They're not aware of those people on a daily basis. And if you can help bridge that gap, you can become a conduit for lots of different value. Person A and person B may say, wow, we could do something really cool together.
Yeah.
Or I just enjoy consuming your content. I'd like to support more of it. Something as simple as that. Um, Being at the intersection of that is so powerful.
Great. We spent a lot of time on this topic on the journey part, and it clearly indicate and illustrate that how passionate you are about this topic. So I'm seeing that energy. I'm feeling that energy from you, Adam. So moving to the next segment, where how do you set your goals and dreams?
I do tend to be more of a big picture person. There are a lot of people who are better at the day
Mm-hmm.
to day, short term, like how do we get there? Um, those are skills that I'm still improving for myself, understanding what are the best tools, and the best strategies to use in terms of breaking down big goals into small parts that can be achieved. But by and large, I look at something and I say, okay, this is what I want. How am I going to get there? So for me, part of what my happiness looks like is time freedom. I want time freedom and flexibility to work on the projects that motivate me, to work with the people who I really want to work with, and the clients who I really want to help, and be able to give them the necessary time and focus to help them achieve what we're trying to get, the level we're trying to get them to. But also to have balance for my own health, my own home life, things like that. So time value is a big deal for me. And then it becomes a question of, okay, how do you get there? And you get there by saying that I'm not going to be put off by, sometimes you have to have multiple plates spinning at one time. You have to balance that with mental health and balance that with other priorities. But sometimes you're going to have a busier time. It's not going to be, like every 2 weeks you get your paycheck. That is a fundamentally different paradigm. And that's okay. So some people are very happy and they're very successful. That's cool. But for me, how I define goals and how I define my ability to reach those goals is really run through the lens of, ultimately, this is what I want. And sometimes you got to climb unpleasant mountains to get there. I mean, I guess it's the same in any job. Yeah. Somebody who wants to be a doctor is going to have to take many, many, many more exams and tests than I have taken in my life.
And 10 years.
Yeah, I know. 10 years of school. I mean, that's after school. I mean, so every job, every profession has their mountains. The mountains for me are, you're entrepreneurial. You're not going to have a consistent paycheck. I work weekends. I work nights. I work birthdays. Some days, like it's just another day. But I'm able to take time off, like when I'm not feeling well or when I have a family event. So there's a balance.
How do you manage your time? What's your task management, time management method look like?
And I'll be quite honest, that is something I'm trying to get better at in the new year. But there are a lot of people who are much better at it than I am. I spend an enormous amount of time on Twitter. I spend an enormous amount of time on LinkedIn, talking to people, building relationships, generating potential revenue streams. It doesn't mean that they all turn over to be revenue streams immediately. Some of them turn over to be great introductions. It turns over to be other kinds of benefits. It's always good to know people and have good relationships. But the day-to-day is I get up, I have a cup of coffee. I send out as many response messages as I can. Usually it's about 30 minutes, 35, 40 minutes. Try to write a LinkedIn post. Although it's the holiday time, I've gotten quite slow with that.
Try to a lot of time.
So try to do response comments. If I have written something, try to get back and engage and make sure that other people feel that their time is valuable too. And I have writing on the side that I'm doing. Try to spend some time writing the longer texts that I'm working on, whatever those projects might be. And I mean, it sounds like it's very disorganized. It is more organized than I'm making it sound. It's a lot of writing, a lot of phone calls.
Yeah, it's creative, organized.
Right. Yeah. But that's like I said, like there are a lot of people who do a much better job, and I'm trying to identify the people who do very good jobs and learn from them. So a big part of my day is also identifying people who I can learn from and taking a step back and trying to absorb their material and improve my own skills. But learning takes time.
What's your message to my audience? And my audience are people who are in the early career.
I would say that one of the one of the biggest pieces of advice I have, and this is something I will tell clients and anybody who will listen. People, I believe, stop themselves from building networks for a host of very common, very understandable reasons that they should really try to not do, frankly. And I'll give a good, and I've done this myself. People stop themselves from having conversations or dialogues because they don't want to feel stupid, right? They don't leave that one comment because what if I sound dumb? They don't put out that one tweet. What if I sound stupid? And it's totally normal, absolutely normal. I'm the same way, but what I had to learn was you don't have to be the expert in the room 100% of the time, because there's a huge difference between, okay, you're not the expert in the room, but you're there, you're learning and you're absorbing, and you're not part of the conversation. If you're not part of the conversation, you don't exist. And that's not a mean thing. That's just how it is. What I really like to do is talk to people who feel that they can't be the networking entrepreneurial types. And for the record, being entrepreneurial is not the same as saying, I think you need to be an entrepreneur, go run out and start your own company. When I say entrepreneurial, what I'm really talking about is seeing opportunities where other people may see barriers and feeling like this is doable. So it could be, being entrepreneurial could be identifying a job promotion that you want in your company or in your industry, or identifying a project that you want to work at your company. And how do you have the conversations to communicate to your coworkers and your boss and your organization that you're the right person for this? That's being entrepreneurial. Even if you're working in a very big company, that's still being entrepreneurial.
That's so powerful, Adam. I just wanted to pause, and this is so powerful.
Well, I mean, and I always tell people, because I run across this with some of my own friends. I think certainly in our society, people are taught to believe this next thought, which is, if you're not loud and extroverted and expressive, you're not a good networker. You're not a good entrepreneur, or you wouldn't be. And I tell people who identify as shy or introverted, I mean, people identify the way they want to identify. That's okay. For the record, I don't see myself as a full extrovert. Like, I would rather watch Netflix than go to the club. Personally, that's what I'd rather do. But I've seen people who identify as introverts build and sell $20 million companies. I've seen people who identify as shy, introverted people become the face of their podcast, become the face of their company, become the face of a book that they're writing, or a course that they're putting together. And I would sooner work with somebody who is shy or introverted, who says, I'm having some trouble here, but I really want to get to this level, right? I would sooner work with that person than somebody who is arrogant and says, basically in their communication, like, oh, I have nothing left to learn. What could you possibly, they don't value other people's time. They don't value other people's expertise. Personally, I don't know how to teach somebody like that, because they're not interested in learning. They're interested in getting the sale as quickly as they can. That's just been my experience. And so I want to explain to people who are still building their persona, it's okay to try different things. And it's really, really, really important to also try different things outside your lane.
Yeah.
I will talk to anybody. I don't know anything about the construction industry. I'll talk to people who work in construction. I don't know anything about, the medical industry, but I'll talk to people who work in that. I'll talk to people who work in real estate, or people who work in food and, restaurants. I don't know anything about running a restaurant. I know how to go down and sit down and order a meal.
Definitely.
So when you open yourselves up to lots of different people, you don't know where it's going to take you.
Yeah. If somebody wants your service, then how can they approach?
I'm in the process. of
Uh-huh.
rebranding, rebuilding, doing all that lovely housekeeping stuff. So right now, they're not going to find something that's all pretty and nice. The best way to get into contact with me is through Twitter or LinkedIn. My handle on Twitter is the same as my personal LinkedIn page. It's at Adam
I will
Marx 13.
add in the description.
You're right. So right now, it is easier to just find my personal stuff because I'm in the process of doing all the company branding and all that.
Do you have any question for me?
I do. I want to know, because I'm always curious, what do you find with your audience? Because you've had lots of conversations with people. What do you find within the context of this dialogue they seem to struggle with the most? Because that helps me understand for myself, what can I focus on more and create more content and more value around? Do people struggle with LinkedIn? Do they struggle with Twitter? Do they struggle with something else? Because ultimately, what I want to do when I wake up every morning is put out a piece of content that somebody says, that's what I needed. That's going to help me get to that next level.
I have interviewed different sets of people. I have interviewed directors in the big companies, project managers, and then principal in middle school, high school, elementary school. The biggest thing that I have found is some of these people know exactly what they want from life, exactly where they're going. And then there are some people is struggling with the point that they don't know what next that they want to do. And I think if we can figure out, before even going to the technology piece, before even going to the Twitter or LinkedIn or the content piece, is some way for them to go through the soul searching process that you went through, Adam. But it's not about the tool or the method. It's about whether or not they have the clarity on the next thing that they want to do.
Yeah, it sounds to me like a lot of that is around the idea of sometimes the best thing to do is not to overthink, which is something I do all the time.
Yes,
And
yes.
to just say, I'm not going to try to game the relationship. I'm not going to try to game this. I'm just going to go out and create value and be a part of positive conversations. And that is what I teach people how to do, is how to have the mindset that, business is important. I'm not saying don't do business. Business is good. Do business. But recognize that people are not commodities. They're not like trading stocks on the stock market. You're going to have to want to put in the necessary time and care to build a relationship, build a dialogue. And what I often tell people is, you could charge that person, I don't know, whatever your rate is, $200 an hour, $300 an hour, whatever it is, right? For that
Whatever it is.
Or, and you may or may not get it depending on how long you've known the person, or you can continue to have the conversation, not rush that, and see where it goes. And that $200 that you would charge for that very first call off the bat, that could turn into a project that's, hey, this is good for both of us. We're bringing in $5,000 a piece in the door over a new partnership. So learning to think like that isn't about saying don't get paid. It's important to get paid and be valued for your time. But it's also important to assess different kinds of benefits and different kinds of compensation. Money's important, but introductions are important, and testimonials are important, and having a good reputation is important. So learning how to assess and balance all those things.
Awesome. This is great. Thank you so much for your time, Adam.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.